Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with the Bob's Burgers movie. So, this is a donation reward for Isabella. And you may be wondering, why am I reacting to this when I dropped Bob's Burgers? Well, the simple answer is because it's a donation reward. that's the reason, let's be honest. But also, I have actually heard a lot of people say that you do not need to go into this movie really knowing anything about Bob's Burgers. You could go in this being completely blind to the series and still enjoy this. It kind of works as a standalone. I've heard a lot of people who have seen it, who have never seen any of the series, say they really enjoyed it. So that's actually a pretty promising endorsement, I guess you could say. I do know a couple things about this movie. I have heard some of the songs, like I think two of them. I don't know how many songs are in here in total, but I've heard the Lucky Duck song, and I've heard, I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, like the best sunny side of summer day or whatever it's called. Whatever, you probably know what I'm talking about. I've heard those two songs already. So I know those songs. I don't actually know what the plot is about specifically, so there's that. I have seen like this outfit that Linda wears in it, where she's basically just wearing a giant burger. I've actually seen cosplays of it, so that's fun in and of itself. I assume there's going to be characters in this that I had not met as far as I got into the series, which just makes sense. You know, it's like I only got so far into the series, like not that far at all. So there's a lot of characters that I just haven't met. So yeah, I don't really, yeah, I don't know exactly what to expect from this. At least in terms of the story and stuff like that. But I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to give it a shot and see what it's like. For those who remember, the reason I dropped Bob's Burgers in the first place wasn't because of a lack of enjoyment necessarily. I just didn't think it was going to be good for reactions. After having recorded a few episodes and everything, I just felt like this isn't a series that I would want to react to. It's not the kind of series that I feel like works well for reactions. Just because of its format and nature and everything and type of humor. But it's not bad by any means. So that wasn't ever the issue. Just want to specify that. So I have heard that there was an actor involved in this series that apparently, I don't know exactly what he did, but he did something really bad and ended up getting, like, fired for it. I don't remember all the details, but I'm wondering if he's in this or if he was fired before this was, like, made. Before the movie was being recorded and all. I honestly have no clue. But I have heard stuff about that too. I don't remember much of the details. So I'm kind of curious about that. Like maybe you could tell me in the comments if you know the story there. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Since I do believe it is a musical, I'm definitely interested to hear the songs I haven't heard before. And I'm hoping that it is as good as everyone's saying. That especially as someone who is very, very minorly into the series, like I've seen so little of it. I'm hoping I can still enjoy this just as well. We're gonna find out though. So let us just get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, Everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, like I had said, it seems to be a pretty popular consensus that apparently you could see this movie without really knowing too much. Obviously, going in and knowing the series is going to give you a more of an appreciation for it, but I think I agree. Like, I don't know a lot about the series. There's characters here I don't even know if they're in the series. Like the landlord, his brother, and cousin. I don't know if they're all in the series. I presume maybe they are, though, because it's like there was something about Fanny being like homicidal before and having been in prison, and it's like that has to be in reference to the series, right? So they were all probably in there to some degree. But the point is, I didn't need to like actively know that. It wasn't necessary to enjoy the movie. The movie was actually very fun. It's not necessarily the best movie ever. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's an amazing movie that deserves like endless heaps of praise, and we should just even if you're not normally a fan of the series, it works so well. I'm not going to say like all of that jazz and like go overboard with it, but it was good. I'd say even really good. It was enjoyable, and I purposefully didn't say anything about my thoughts on the songs during the pre-thoughts or even the reaction, because I want to talk about that here real quick. So as I said, 2 of the songs I heard prior to seeing this movie. The Sunny Side Up Day of Life, or whatever it's called, and Lucky Ducks. There was honestly not that many songs in this. There were a couple reprises, but there was like only maybe like 2 other songs besides those 2, and it's like, I thought this was a musical. That's it's not really a musical if there's only like 4 songs and maybe a couple short reprises. It's like there was very little music in this from what I was expecting. But anyway, I purposely didn't say anything about my thoughts on those 2 songs ahead of time, because I want to kind of discuss it within the context of the film. And I didn't want to miss anything during the reaction, so I chose not to talk about it there either. I actually really like the songs. They're not like the best songs I've heard in an animated movie or musical or whatnot, but they're really good. I would say I like Lucky Ducks a little better because it feels a little more put together. Sunny Side Up Day of Life, or again, whatever it's called exactly, that one feels a little more disjointed because you have like, what is it, like 4 or 5 different perspectives you're covering in that song, and each perspective kind of has a different feel to it. Almost feels like its own song in a way. Not that the overall sound and everything, excuse me. Not that the overall sound and everything is entirely different, because it's not. Just the feel of it, the way it's like it carries over into completely different scenes and whatnot, and then it kind of goes back and forth. It feels less directly together. I don't know how else to describe it. But I like Lucky Ducks a little bit more, and even just in terms of just the overall sound and everything with it, I just find it to be better. Plus, I like the kind of fuck landlords message of it, and bullies as well. You could add that in too. But this movie was fun. It's not only just a murder mystery kind of thing. It's not only like, the family trying to get back their, or trying to save their shop from being run down by just money troubles. It's it's also just a fun story about this family just trying to get by and trying to succeed. And that's shown in different ways through each of these characters. They all have their little story arcs, and they all kind of come full circle. Like Tina, I guess, gets the guy at the end. She kisses him, and he seems okay with it, and even happy about it, kind of. Sometimes it's hard to tell with how this series handles its humor, but he seemed fine with it. He seemed to like it, so. Um, and you have Gene with his band stuff. You have obviously the parents with, getting the shop saved and all. But let's be honest, the heart of this story was Louise. Because her story is definitely something I think is the most relatable. Tina's is pretty relatable for a lot of people too, of course. But I think Luis's is the most because everybody deals with bullying at some point. Even if it's not like a lot, even if it's not like major bullying, like physical attacking and shit, people usually it's very common for people to have dealt with that, to have been bullied in some way, shape, or form. Um, and yeah, it hurts. It hurts to not be respected. It hurts to be treated like lesser. Even if not just being specifically called a baby, it's like being treated lesser, like you have less worth than others, is terrible. And yeah, you kind of want to show off and to get back at those people who say those things. And when you do something that you think works for that, yeah, you're going to flaunt it a bit. And her big thing is she doesn't like being called a baby. She feels that she, at 9 years old, is growing up. And she wants to be seen as growing up. That she's not a baby anymore. That she's not exactly a young woman, but is getting there. And so being called a baby just bothers her to no end. And that's understandable. So she wants to prove that she's brave. She wants to prove that she has the courage to not be seen that way. And she comes up with all these different schemes to try and prove it throughout the film. And the answer is kind of staring her right in the face the entire time. Really early on, when they're doing the death drop thing, or whatever it was called, um, the entire thing was brought up about like, oh, she doesn't want to do that, is to swing around on the bars because she's afraid of losing her hat. And later on, when they're stuck in the ditch and everything, we find out, well, actually, even before that, we find out why, because we hear her version of the story of what happened. She believed that the hat was given to her to help her be brave on her first day of preschool. That her bravery was connected to that hat. So losing it, even just taking it off for a short time or having it fall off, would be a symbol of her being seen as weaker or cowardly or just less in general. And that's what's truly scared her. Being seen that way. But then she finds out the truth while they are in that hole. That the hat wasn't given to her on the first day of preschool. And that it wasn't to keep her from being afraid. The hat was given to her as a gift later on. Because she was so brave on her first day of preschool. And it was inspired by Bob's mother, Luisa's grandmother, who she never got to meet. which is exceptionally heartwarming and beautiful. It is a wonderful story that really adds a lot to her character and to Bob and Linda's character as well. It showcases them all in a new light. And so at the end, Louise accomplishes her goal, not doing the death drop to prove that she's brave, because she already proved that by helping stop Grover's plan. She didn't need to prove it to these girls. She did it because she wanted to do it, and when her hat fell off, it was okay. Because it had a new meaning now. Its true meaning. That is honestly where the heart of this movie comes from. Louise's story, her character arc, is the highlight here. And mind you, I always liked Louise. Like, in the episodes that I did watch, Louise was definitely my favorite. And yes, part of that is Kristen Schaal. Kristen Schaal is great with her voice and everything, but Kristen Schaal's a great voice actress, so. But yeah, it's just, she definitely, like, proved that she is my favorite character in this, for sure. With this movie. Like, I was more invested in her story than any of the others. And the other stories were still good, it's just I wasn't as invested in them. Honestly, I was least invested in Gene's because I'm honestly just least invested in Gene. I'm still not, I still don't get his character. He's still just probably my least favorite. But this movie had surprising heart to it, but it also had, like, surprising tension. It actually got pretty intense there. Not only at the part where they're in the molehill trying to stop the fuse, but, like, when they're buried alive, it's like, that's scary. That is a scary concept. So, yeah, it's like you're wondering, how are they going to get out of that? Because I couldn't think of a way. But breaking the water main to launch them up, I don't think that would exactly work in real life, but for cartoon logic, it was a good idea. And definitely something I would have never thought of. And as for the entire murder mystery aspect, it's like, I had guessed before it was revealed that it was the lawyer, that it was Grover, but not very long before it was revealed, like almost like right beforehand. Because I was kind of going along with things at first. I didn't think it was the landlord. I thought that was too obvious from the start. But once like they were guessing that it was his brother, it's like I was thinking like it could be. And things are sounding pretty bad with the way he's talking in the treehouse and all. So I could believe it. But I didn't, like, entirely, I wasn't, like, 100% convinced. And then when Grover came into the treehouse as well, I'm like, it could be him, right? and it ended up being him. And it's like, he was my last guess, and it was proven very shortly after with the cufflinks and all. The cufflinks obviously being the big revealer. But yeah, there was a lot to really enjoy about this. I liked just so much of it. It was, again, not necessarily my favorite movie that I've reacted to recently. It's not gonna top the charts or anything like that, but I had fun. I genuinely had fun with this. So, yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below, what did you think of the Bob's Burgers movie? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.